precious building. You are more than the air I close to my heart. I see her face and know that she sees. Your reflection is more than you see. You are more than a phenom, lasting essence longer than eons in the plateau that we on. Thank you for tuning in to the Poetic Property Podcast. I am your host, Kamplexx, the poet, father, author, and entrepreneur. Hope you guys all had a good week. I just got back from a mini staycay, feeling a little bit refreshed. I sat outside for a little bit, let the sun kiss my scalp for a recharge, and it felt great. This week as a whole, though, was fine. I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any struggles or anything. I felt exhausted. That's I'm trying to get out of that because that's a constant in my week that I'm just overly exhausted mentally, and I don't like that feeling. So I'm trying to figure out ways that I could help that. I mean, I do a lot throughout the week, and yeah. But as far as anything negative or anything to create a spiral, I was good. I was good, and I hope you guys were too. I hope you guys had a good week mentally. I hope you guys are able to continue fighting. And I hope you guys, as usual, understand that you have someone here that is available to listen. You can hit me up at Poetic Properties Podcast on IG and Poetic Property TZ on Twitter. Um, and yeah, so last week, like I immediately after I released the last podcast, I was just thinking about some stuff, and then things start hitting me like immediately. And it's very rare that I'm able to get the topic that I want to talk about the next week like so quickly. I think I'm kind of finding my rhythm now of where I want the podcast to be and what I truly want it to be for, per se. Excuse me. um and what I really want it to be for. And I want to be able to help people in general. I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm a person who struggles with mental health, and I'm honest about it. But I'm also an encourager, and I want to be an example of not letting it get to you. And what I mean by let it get to you, like being able to continue to fight for whatever you're trying to be in life and not let it derail you um, from doing that. A lot of times, I don't want to sit here and act like it's all good days for me and stuff like that. Like I don't have down times, because I do. I have days where I don't want to do anything. I don't want to create. I don't want to talk. I don't want to see nobody. I don't want to hear anything. I just, I just go into a shell. And those days, unfortunately, they happen. But my goal is to show people an example of being able to fight through and being encouraged enough to keep going. So for me, my kids are my reason, right? Because we need a reason. We need a reason for everything. So my reason to continue to release creativity, to continue to work, continue to get up is for my kids. I want to get to a point to where I'm able to function for me, right? Eventually my kids, and God forbid that I'm still struggling with depression and anxiety when they're old enough to move out, but I have to get to a point just in case that I'm able to keep going for me. So that's my goal. And I just want to continue, in real time to encourage people to try to get there. I don't want to act holier than thou, like the struggles aren't here, like I'm over them. I'm going through it in real time with you. And that's why I get on here every week so that you can see, you know? So again, if you didn't have a good week and you're alive to keep going, just keep fighting. You're gonna have good days, bad days, and you just have to condition yourself to keep it pushing. Um, so yeah. With that being said, the subject that came to me was competition and the reality of life and understanding that we were taught competition, in my opinion, incorrectly. In sports, um, in school, in everything, we're taught to compete with the next person, be at the top of your class, be the best athlete on the field. You know, the best athlete gets the scholarship, and you go on, be the best looking, you get the cutest girl or the cutest guy and stuff like that. But then no one teaches self competition. So you grow up and you're still competing with people and you don't know how to win or lose properly. So now you're in a difficult space of what do I do? I say that because of this. Um, entrepreneur Entrepreneurship is extremely difficult. It is easy to get discouraged in what you're trying to do, and with that, I start thinking about things in regards to like real life and how people's emotions get torn down from competition because they don't know how to win and they don't know how to lose properly. Um, it's very it's very deceptive to like competition is very deceptive, and you have to realize that everything isn't a competition. And I'll be 38 next month, and I'm learning that now everything isn't a it's not a competition with others, right? It's not a competition to be better than that person or better than this person. And I'm competitive in a certain extent, but I never look at the next person trying to be better than them, and I never look at myself being better than anybody. I always say I, I I listen so that I can learn, but I learn so that I could teach. I never want to learn anything and keep it for myself. I'm not in competition with anybody. The thing is that since we're taught to compete and go head to head with everybody, we lose out on opportunities because as we get into our adulthood, you realize that it's very rare that you have a unique idea. It's very, very rare that you sit there and something comes to your mind and it doesn't exist already. The fear is because it already exists, your idea now to you is a horrible idea because someone did it. And then we're taught, well, you do it like you take someone ideas and then you do it better. And it's like, no, you do your idea that you came up with, regardless of it if it exists or not, as long as you are not stealing. You see what I'm saying? I'm not talking about intellectual property. I'm talking about like ideas like clothing lines, ideas like a phone case company, or ideas like uh, cell phones. Just ideas in general that are needed around the world. It's very imperative that you don't get discouraged with competition because if there's millions of hamburger stands, there's millions of taco stands. I live in Arizona and there's a Berto on every block. Alla, Rebo, Shibo, Tebow, like it's in all of them. If they had fear because the next taco shop was right there, they wouldn't be in business. And I look around as I'm in stores. I look around as I'm driving up and down the street. Like it's a million different gas stations. At the end of the day, it's the same gas. You tap it from the same source. Yeah, you put your own chemical making to it, so it could be yours. But at the end of the day, it comes from the same source. I look at clothing companies. Yeah, your designers put in the work to sew it and do that, or even if it's a print on demand. Yeah, those companies um put together the hoodies and put together that, but at the end of the day, it's all coming from the same source. So the competition is unnecessary. Like I live, like I said, I live like right on the Indian reservation, right? But right in the city, it's just it's on one street, right? It's two supermarkets. It's two supermarkets on one on the left, one on the right. Both of those supermarkets has a Starbucks, and then we have a standalone Starbucks. We have four gas stations on that one stretch. We have four gas stations. Two of them are the same exact company. They're just owned by somebody different. If you hit a quick right, that it's a third company, it's Circle K. It's the same gas. But guess what? Everybody has customers. No one is trying to sabotage the next company. No one is trying to sabotage. There's a Burger King, a Jack in the Box, a Culver's, a Taco Bell, three Mexican other restaurants, a Chipotle, and two sandwich shops, all on one block. And nobody is trying to sabotage the other, because at the end of the day, it's not a competition of I need to steal your customer. The ideal thing is I need to please my customer. So as an adult, we have to understand everything isn't a competition. It really isn't. And if you have kids, it's important that you teach them everything isn't a competition. You want to do your best because you want to do your best, not because the next person wants, not for you to look better than the next person. Like society is really jacked up, and it's a shame that it takes so long for people to see that. But also it takes so much strength to be able to teach the next generation what's going on. Like a lot of people, "Oh, I'm woke, I'm woke, I'm woke," and it's just it's a lot of conspiracy theories, right? There is to me there is a thing as being woke, but it's not only with conspiracy theory type things that we all know are really true, and they're only called conspiracy theories because government doesn't want us to know. Cool, it is what it is. I'm not going there. What I mean is, I tell my kids to compete with themselves, because I've always said I'm raising humans. I'm not raising men. I'm not raising women. I'm raising humans. So I'm going to respect you as a human being. I'm not stronger than you. Like I have no authority over you as it results to what you believe in, how you carry yourself and stuff like that. It is my responsibility as a parent to teach you the things that are in society so you can choose how to do or be who you want to be in the constructs of good and bad and good and evil, whatever. That's your job. I'm just here to cultivate and make sure you don't fly off the rails. But for the most part, for me, I allow my kids to be who they are because that's just who I am. I didn't have that freedom coming up. And the time that I grew up, you weren't allotted that because of the times, the area, what was going on. So for me, it's really important to let them know in all aspects of their life, you're not competing with no one but yourself. The goal is to get a grade better than you got last time. It's to run a time faster than you ran last time. It's to get more tackles than you got last game, to score more points, to pass the ball more. It's to cook a better dish than you cooked, last dish or whatever. But it's never against nobody. We didn't learn that when we were kids. We just learned we had to be the best, better than everybody else. And a lot of adults are struggling because they don't have nobody to compete with. Like, and I can make that tangible. For me, I've always done sports. Always. From the time that I was 6, I skipped a year because Timothy and Dedrick they knocked my whole joint off, and I don't want to play football ever again after that. So I missed a year, and then I came back. I think I was 8 or 9, and then I have never missed a year of sports, whether it be track or football up until I think I was 20 or 21, right? So I always have a coach, a drill sergeant type person. I always have somebody scheduling my weightlifting, scheduling my running and stuff like that. And it's because I'm trying to be I'm competing with the next person to get the starting position. I'm competing with the next person to be on the A relay, not the B relay. But now as an adult, I don't have a coach. I don't have nobody screaming at me, give me 20. I don't have nobody, come on, push it. And it's just me. So I've gained weight, right? I gained weight. And it's difficult for me to work out like I worked out when I was younger, not because I don't have the stamina or ability to, but I'm conditioned for someone to be yelling in my ear for me to get going. I'm conditioned to, see the next person next to me and like, oh, I don't want this person to get my position. So I'm gonna work harder than this person. But as an adult, you don't have that. So I walk here and there. I try to eat right here and there. I cut out this food, and it's just like it's difficult because I'm looking for the competition, not because I want it, but because mentally I am conditioned to be in competition with everyone but myself. So on my journey of accountability, I'm learning so many different things that require my accountability within myself. Not It has nothing to do with no one else. I was taught that it had to do with this person. I was taught relationships have to do with your partner. No, I was taught, losing weight is a competition. You got to want to do it. Blah 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 blah. We was never taught to do those things for ourselves. We were never taught to love ourselves, and now we're stuck in this competitive nature that is killing our souls. It's killing us slow, and we have to understand everything isn't a competition. The competition is within you. You have to wake up and say, what do I want to be? Who do I want to be? For myself, not for the relationship, not for the employer, not for your kids, but who are you? Who do you want to be? Compete with yourself so that you can be the greatest version of yourself. As long as you're competing with somebody, you're just trying to take their attributes that you feel like are good attributes and add them to yourself. And everything isn't for everybody. Everything is not for everybody. I've learned that throughout my life is that no, I don't want to be like that. Even though that it looks like it works for that person and their family or that person and their business, I don't want to do that. I want to learn how to do something that fits me so it's not a struggle. Like I don't want any unnecessary struggle. And competing with other people, it's creating an unnecessary struggle when I can be competing with myself and learning. And don't get me wrong, learning from someone is not wrong. Like I said, I learn, I listen to learn, and I learn to teach. Period. If anybody asks me anything that I don't know, I'm going to research. If I do know, I'm going to give it. And I've had people say, "Why you just give information away for free?" And I'm like, because it's not affecting me. People are going to like or not like me because they like or not like me, not because I'm helping or not helping. It doesn't, like, honestly, I've been looking for these track suits, right? I've been looking for these track suits, sweatsuits, that match forever. And I've reached out to everyone. I reached out, like I told you guys last week. I'm just doing certain things for me so that, like, I can't get mad if I never step on the field. So I've asked people, celebrities, I've asked regular people, people, oh, it's $800. I'll tell you the name of my vendor or blah 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 blah. It's $500. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. And it's like I just want matching sweatsuits. And so I'm researching, researching, research. I couldn't figure nothing out. And then last week when I did the episode of Jump, so I went. I saw some celebrities that have merch lines. I got in the DMs. All you could do is ignore me. It's three things that's gonna happen. You're gonna ignore me, you're gonna point me in the right direction, or you're gonna respond and say, nah, I can't help you, whatever. I've been doing that for I've been doing that for 2 weeks. The first week I just did, people who are starting out just like me or are a little bit ahead of me or a lot of bit ahead of me. I don't know. Hey, where did you get your matching tracksuits? I'll give it to you for $800. I'll give you the vendor. All right, cool. I'll have $800 to give you just for a name, but I appreciate it. Hey, where'd you get that? No response. Hey, no response. So last week, the week before last, I did entrepreneurs who are starting out, right? Last week, I did people who I deem celebrities, people who I look and I see that they're doing something, that I like positive or whatever. I find them funny, yada, yada, whatever. And I interact with this guy. His name is Kevin Tate. And he don't know me personally. I don't know him personally, but I seen one of his specials. Me and my kids love him, right? Me and my kids love him. And I interact with him just in general because he posts questions for his Zodiac show. And so I comment here and there, not even here and there, like kind of the ones that apply, I'll respond. Never thought nothing of it, yada yada, whatever. So I hit up a couple more celebrities. Kevin dropped something. He dropped something. What's today? Sunday. I want to say it was either Thursday or Friday. Yesterday I hit him up. Hey bro, I know you don't know me. I'm a small business entrepreneur trying to figure out where do you get your matching sweatsuits and tracksuits, etc. Just wanted to know, do you have a particular vendor or do you do it wholesale? Now, mind you, I've asked the same question to everybody, and for 2 weeks, so 14 days straight. I've asked the same question to everybody, and everybody has either been giving me the runaround, ignoring me, whatever. I asked Kev, I think it was either, like I said, I either asked him Friday or Saturday. Today I was sitting there and I was like, I got a message. I'm like, I didn't even hear my phone. I didn't even hear my phone go off, but it is what it is. So I opened it and he had responded to me. He had given me an answer. The answer is beneficial to me. So for me now, all right, cool. I can stop looking for what I'm looking for because now I know what I need to do. I'm not at the level. I'm not at that level of where I need to be to do what needs to be done to get that, right? And I know that sounds crazy and cryptic or whatever, but it is what it is. The point that I'm trying to make is that I jumped out. Me and him cater to a completely different audience. But because I jumped out and I got 13 days of no's, I finally got a yes. I finally got pointed in the right direction of, all right, this is what you're gonna have to do, this is what you're gonna have to find. So it's not just one thing. You see what I'm saying? It's multiple steps of what I was looking for, but at least he responded. So now that I know, because it was the perfect example of we're not in competition. So he pointed me in the direction I needed to go. So now I have to do more research in my area because he's not out here where I'm at. But I have to do the research in my area to get to what I need to get to. So the point is that everybody else more than likely saw it as a competition. He didn't ask me for no money. He didn't ask me, well, what is this? What is that? It was just, here go the response, bro. I don't know him. He don't know me. The only currency that him and I have exchanged is time. That's it. And like I told you, time is valuable. And I'm learning that if people see you giving them time, And by time, I mean in today's world, you responding to their post. If they ask a question, you give an answer to help them do their show, or not help. I'm saying that loosely. If someone, oh, what do you think about this? And you're sitting there and you're giving them time and interaction, is valuable. Because I paid him in time, weeks and weeks in advance of just interacting, because he had some like, genuinely, the questions were really good. The concept of his show was really good. So I was just responding because I was like, "Oh, this is adult interaction. I like where he's going. I'm reading the comments. The comments are always either funny or intellectual, and it's on some hood stuff. But it's still, you get something from his questions. You get a different perspective. But I paid in time, and I know to somebody else listening, they'll be like, "Well, why don't you do this, or why don't you do that, or why is that so important to you?" It's so important to me because 13 days of no's with people that are, you know, rich per se, or people who are established in their business, they took it as a threat and didn't want to respond. I'm not trying to steal your customers. I'm not trying to what the young people say. I'm not trying to swerve in your lane. I just wanted to know because I would like to add them to my small business. But I never asked Kevin for, hey, can you support my business by retweeting or resharing or follow my page? Hey, bro, where you get that from? And of course, I did it more respectful than that. But the point is, without hesitation, he let me know, because it's not a competition. And we get in this thing, and it just sucks that that's how we're taught. That's how we're taught. We're raised that way. Compete, 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 compete. And it's like, I'm teaching my kids how to compete with themselves. I never want the kids, when they get older, when they start making their own decisions, I never want them to be as lost as I was when I initially became an adult. And I'm not knocking, my parents or anything like that, because they were taught how they were taught. Is I believe, like, the generation now, they could care less about what they parents think. I was born in '82, and I think we're the last generation of, like, kind of the traditional upbringing. So it took us a while to get to the free thinking per se. But I think that our kids are, like, that's the first generation. Like, my oldest is 14. I think his generation is the first generation, like to kind of tiptoe into free thinking, and the parents don't go off, because now these 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 new set of kids, I wish you would try to tell them something. Not saying they're rowdy or whatever like that, but when it comes to their thinking, when it comes to their entrepreneurship, when it comes to their creativity, when it comes to them being who they are, who they see themselves as, I wish you would try to tell them kids something. I have witnessed some crazy things, like, and it's funny because it'll be like, "Ooh, back in my day, this would have happened," but it's like, that's wrong. Everybody should get to better, should have the opportunity to compete with themselves, to become better for themselves, and not with no one else. I don't want to be better than my brother. That's my brother. I don't want to be better than my sister. That's my sister. I want us all to figure out who we want to be, work wise, school wise, creative wise, parental. Like, I want us all to figure that out and compete with ourselves, and then us all love each other for who we are, because it's not a competition. It's not. We allow, and we're all victim of it. Even when you get to a certain place, we allow people space in our heads, right? And it creates this anger, and it's like, for what? But it's so difficult to back down. It's so difficult to let it go. Once somebody get in your head, Jesus, it's so hard. is so hard, and that's why it's a fight of self-awareness. It's a fight of self-accountability. Like I always say, I'll be able to hold myself accountable before anybody else will, right? But it took a long while for me to get to the point to where I'll look at myself and I'll sit and like something will happen. I'll sit like, nah, that wasn't right. That's not even that's not even your get down. Like you allowed someone to press you to an extent to where you reacted in a way that you normally wouldn't. And we all fall victim of that. But best believe I'll be able to be like, yo, my bad. I didn't, I should have handled this that way, even if I'm right. I don't like being out of my character. So if I allow you to push me out of my character, I'm going to apologize because I should have more strength. I should be so competitive. Am I saying that right? I should be in so much competition with myself that nothing should be able to move me. And when it does, I should be so in tune with who I am that I'm able to say, you know what? Doesn't matter what you said. I should have been able to stay on this thing because I'm not in competition with you. I'm in competition with me to be better. I'm a spiritual person. I'm in competition because I believe in heaven and hell. So my goal is to be better than I was yesterday so that when my time comes, like, yo, I try to better myself every day. You win some and you lose some. But we allow people in our headspace and they like I I'm very careful with what I say. Like right now on Twitter, they keep posting these things, and it's like the caption is rent free, and meaning this lives rent free in your mind. And a lot of it is funny. A lot of it is like clips from movies and stuff like that. But it's just like I laugh because I'm very careful with what I say because once you start doing that, you'll allow anything into your mind without even knowing. You see what I'm saying? So it's like I don't allow because my mind was so weak and I allowed everything that came up against me to live rent free. Once I was able to evict all those other thoughts, all those other emotions, all those other people's opinions, once I was able to evict all that, nothing lives rent free. Nothing lives rent free. I'm so competitive with myself that I will put myself in a competition of how long I can't talk to or won't talk to someone so that I'm able to have peace within myself. That's just who I am. Like I don't want to compete. I don't want to debate. I don't want to do any of those things outside of trivia or trivial things. As a result to my life, I don't want to debate with nobody. Like when it's serious that involves me, involves my kids, my relationships, like I'm not going to debate with you because there's nothing that you are going to say to create a competition with who I am as a person, as a parent, as a lover, as an employee, as a boss, as a friend, there's nothing nobody's going to be able to say to me. I'm not saying that I'm always right. I'm not saying that I'm always wrong. But what I'm saying is, I don't want to debate anything with anybody unless it's for fun. I don't want to create unnecessary competition with anyone because there's nothing or no one that is in my life that, when it's said and done, have to handle what I have to handle. Me and my brother are best friends. Me and my brother, we tell each other everything. We talk, we text, we tell each other about business, we talk about the kids, we do all of that. But at the end of the day, I can't be him, he can't be me. So it's certain things that's like him and I, we don't argue. Like I'll shut down and he'll be like, Peanut, I don't care what it is, call me. And he means that. I struggle with it because of the depression. I don't think he's aware of that, but I struggle with contacting him because of the depression in me. Because it's like I want to call him, but it's like I'm super duper down. It's like, I don't want to do anything. But him and I, there's no competition at all. There's no, like, he tells me all the time, bro, I go through stuff a lot of times so that you don't got to go through it. And he's been like that since we've been little. Since I can remember running around my brother, I don't think a fight that I can remember. Like my mom always laughs because I guess he was picking on me and I hit him with something or whatever. But anything that I can remember, I can't remember him creating a competition of who gonna be the better brother. Ever since I can remember, he's always just guided me. You know, his examples were sometimes good, sometimes bad, but for the most part, I don't know, I don't recall a competition, and that's the person closest to me in the world. So I've been his brother for 38 years, and he's just taught me like, be you. No, compete with who? And it's like, so every time I step on the field, every time I step on a track, every time I recite a poem, there's nobody there. My brother told me, be you. Go handle that. That's what I do. I'm in competition with myself. I'm always trying to do the next idea better than the last. Like my brother is probably the only person that lives rent free in my mind. But it's not negative, it's lessons. Stop crying to get a ticket. Attach everything to the end goal. Don't talk a lot, but when you do talk, make sure you pop their eyes out. These are things that my brother has said to me like when I was a teenager. And I always remember those things. There's never been a competition. There's never been hate. There's never been envy. He's just my brother. And I use that as an example because a lot of us have siblings, a lot of us have friends that that we're so called best friends with, and it's a competition. It's an undertone to it. Like my brother is like my father. I look at him that way, and he never says it, but I know he looks at me like I'm his son. We're 2 years apart, but the life that we have lived, it created a strong father son bond. I've always looked up to him, no matter what I'm going through. I know it bothers him sometimes that we don't talk. I know it bothers him sometimes that like when I'm sick and I'm trying to hide it from him. I know he knows. But I know him. He gonna allow me to be who I am. But he always gonna say, Peanut, call me. Don't let me find out from nobody else. Don't text me, call me so we can talk about it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what's on your mind, call me. And no matter what, I could not talk to my brother for 60 days, call him, and it'll be like we just talked. Yeah, he can be like, what's up? Like, you good? But after that initial, father check, we're gonna be back to normal. I could talk to my brother every single day, and we don't talk about the same thing because it's not a competition. He taught me that, and little by little, I think about him often because we're not next to each other. We haven't been next to each other for years now. Like, and next to each other, I mean living in close proximity. Like I can't just reach him if I want to. He can't just reach me if he wants to. And it's a very difficult thing, to be honest, but he's taught me so much. So little by little, it's random things that pop through my mind. I'll be thinking about them, and something will pop through my mind because even though we don't compete with each other, we are competitive, if that makes sense. And so I'll think about something and I'll be getting emotional and I'll just hear him be like, man, stop crying to get a ticket. And I'll start dying laughing because that's just who my brother is. That's just the type of guy that he is. It's like he gonna compete, but he never competed with nobody. Like I laugh because I see all these people in the NFL and stuff like that, and I as a little kid just seeing my brother play against them and dominate them, like I laugh because it's just so refreshing that I saw my brother dominate some of these people. But then when it was time to let it go, he let it go. He moved on to the next thing. I've never seen. I've never seen like outside of the field, right? Because when you're on the field and you're an athlete, yeah, you're competing with somebody. But in life, I've never seen my brother compete with nobody. And so for me, I never compete with nobody. The competition is with myself. It was like when I very first started doing my business, right? I was like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, da 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 da. And then like I was like, he was asking me like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then it was too much for me, right? It was too much for me, so I didn't do nothing. And then it was like a good like month, good 2 months. What you doing for the business? What you doing for the business? Like, no matter what we talked about, we'll talk about the kids. We'll talk about, he'll ask me about their grades. He'll what they up to. All right, I'm gonna hit them on the iPad a little bit. What you did for the business today, man? Oh man, I was just tired. Peanut, no matter what, you got to do something for the business. Man, bro, you're Peanut, no matter what, you got to do something for the business. And so his voice is in my head just continuously, right? And I'm still kind of lackadaisical. I'm still like, all right, man, I'm gonna get to it. So I'm working on this thing, working on that thing, and boom, my daughter passes away. So now on top of that, on top of my bro always telling me, bro, you creative, just do it. Do like write something. The next thing is the best thing. Now my daughter has taught me time. Now uh uh them are the two forces for me. My brother and my daughter that passed. My brother's telling me to be consistent even before I start, right? Every day you got to work on a business. And now my daughter has taught me time. Now I have now, logically I'm like, oh, I get it now. So now there's not a time that my brother could call me and I'm not doing anything for the business. There's a time that I call my brother every day, right? And this is what I mean about not being a competition with people. My brother's an artist, right? And I'll call him and I'll hear stuff in the background and I'll already know what he's doing. And not necessarily particularly the piece he's working on, but like I used to be like, this man does not sleep. Every time I called him, I heard either a tool in the background, one of his motivational speeches that he listens to while he works. I hear him drying stuff or painting stuff, or hold on, Peanut, I got to let this set real quick. And I'm looking at that just constantly. He works. You feel me? He works, school, his family, his business, all of that. But every time I called him, he was working on his business. And that's where I get it from, where I'm not telling you nothing I ain't been through myself. The best example I have of that is my brother Duck. He don't tell me nothing he hasn't been through. And what I love about it is that I've been a parent for going on 15 years, but I'm his younger brother, right? So he'll ask me certain things and I'll laugh because he's still my big brother. So he can't like it can't be like I don't know what's going on, but he asked me. He'll ask me certain things. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? I remember before, like I remember before I used to be very hard on my kids. I used to be very hard on my kids. And so I was talking to him one day and I remember him saying, like, man, like at some point, y'all just gotta have conversations because they understand what you're saying, and if they doing it still, it's a disconnect of respect. And so I'll never forget that he wasn't a parent or nothing, but he's my brother, and I look up to him. And for me, he is the only person that I'll listen to that I trust his word regardless. Everybody else, if you talk to me about my kids, you might get hung up on. But my brother has a relationship with my kids. He tells them things sometimes different than what I tell them, but he's their uncle, and it's not a competition. He telling them from the perspective of an uncle. I'm telling him from the perspective of a dad, but he's also speaking from someone who helped raise me. So regardless of if we are verbally on the same page, we are on the same page because he raised me. That is the only person I give, like, I give rent-free space in my head because it's not a competition. I'm never conflicted of what he said versus what I said. It's never a competition about that. It's listen, learn, apply, teach. That's it. That's it. So be careful who you're allowing in your mental space. Be careful that you don't allow people to create an emotional response from you that is not who you are. If you feel that the situation or the conversation creates anger, check yourself. Like, let me tell you something. I used to be so hot headed. I used to be like, you could say whatever, and I'm going to say whatever. But that's before I value peace. That's before I realized, like, I'm not in competition with you. All an argument is, it's a competition of wits. It's a competition of emotion. It's a competition of irritation. Who is going to yell louder? Who is more irritated? Who's going to quote unquote win? Now, if I've done something to make you mad or to hurt you, I'm going to apologize. It is up to you to accept the apology or not. But what I'm not going to do is argue. Like, you can yell at me and do all of that, and more times, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be like, cool. Because one, when you're at an elevated emotional state, it doesn't matter what the next person says anyway. You can be 100% wrong, and I could be 100% right, and vice versa. But when emotions are high and voices are elevated, it doesn't matter. The competition is who can yell louder, who can win the argument, who is right, who is wrong. Even if, in my case, if I'm wrong, I'm going to tell you I'm wrong. You still want to yell because that's how we are built. That's how we are conditioned. We have to argue, even if you like. You could be at your wit's end and rah, 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 and I'll be like, you know what? I was wrong with that. I should have not done that. I should have not said that. And you're still going to yell because you didn't hear me because you're so conditioned to have a competition. You are so, that's how we are brought up. Everything is a head to head. You got to be right and never be wrong. And then even when you're wrong, you can never admit you're wrong. And that's how a lot of people die. That's how a lot of friendships break up. That's how a lot of relationships break up. That's how a lot of times people stop dealing with their family because nobody wants to come to the understanding. Nobody wants to humble themselves. Everybody has to be right because that's how we're raised, and it's not cool. It's not cool. Everything is not a competition. Family, relationship, business, employment. It's not a competition. I've learned that everybody on earth has a responsibility and a duty for themselves to keep earth going. Everything is a balance. Everything is a balance. It is. Everybody is in the right place that they're supposed to be. And in my personal opinion, I feel like, you know, when things happen out of the ordinary, it's because you were in a space that you weren't supposed to be in, whether it be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's certain things that we go through that it comes from the choices that we make emotionally. And I'm not sitting here saying that I don't make emotional decisions or I don't say things emotionally. But one thing for sure is that it's way less than it used to be. Like I said, I'll cut myself off. Like, I'm that type of person. Like, oh no, I feel like I'm about to argue with you for days and days and days on end. I can't do this friendship. I can't do this relationship. I can't deal with you at work. I won't say anything. But that's just where I came. You know, this is my podcast. I can say what I want. I wanna say this. 5 years ago, I was in competition trying to prove something. 5, 6, let's see. I was like 6, 7 at the max. I was in competition trying to prove something to both of my baby mothers, right? That I could be a man and I could do this and I could do that and I could do this for my kids and this, that, and the other. And I was homeless, sleeping on people's couches, right? Whole while I'm giving my son's mom money, I'm giving my daughter's mom money, and I'm leaving no money for myself, right? Pride didn't let me say that out loud to either of them because of how they spoke to me, how they spoke about me. So my ego, I was in competition with them. I was, oh nah, they ain't about to say I'm not this. They ain't about to say I'm not that. I'm gonna give them all the money that I make and it's whatever. But the whole time I have nowhere to take my kids. The whole time I can't bring my daughter. I can't get my sons. You see what I'm saying? Pride got me in competition with them that I'm willing to be homeless with my kids, right? But then I start being a competition with myself. I don't care when, and if either of them hear this, I don't say this with disrespect. I don't care. Like there came a point to where I didn't care what you thought. I didn't care what they thought who I am. I started caring with who I am. I got tired of sleeping on people's couches. I got tired of just being yes men and just doing what like just enduring just verbal abuse, just yelled at and you ain't this and you ain't that while I'm whole well trying to get everything under control. That was the hardest competition of my life. Competing with who I was trying to be and who they were telling me that I was. And who they were telling me that I was winning for a long time. For a long time. And I started saying, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I have to start doing stuff for me. I have to get out of this situation for me. I can't be who I'm supposed to be for my kids, listening to their mothers tell me who I am. I have to be who I am. So little by little, I start crawling out. Little by little, I start standing my ground. I lost a lot with my daughter from standing up for myself, but I don't regret that. I have to be who I'm going to be, and I'm not going to create chaos, and I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to do that. It is what it is. I created a little bit of chaos from standing up for myself, my son's mom. I don't regret that. I allowed the competition to go because I didn't know no better. But then I start competing with myself. And the more I start competing with myself, the more I start believing in who I was, the more I start standing up for me, the more I start obtaining the things that I needed so I could be who I say that I am. I'm not competing with who you think I should be as a parent. I'm going to be who I'm supposed to be. If you want to keep my child away from me because I'm standing up for me, okay, cool. I'm not going to traumatize my kid competing with you. There's going to be a day I'll be able to speak my piece. But until then, I'm not creating that competition because my daughter's watching, because my son's watching. That's my take on it. Competition is not always necessary. I believe that. I believe that if you do what you're supposed to do, the things that are supposed to come to you will come to you in all aspects of your life. The goal is to help, not hinder. So many people ask for help and they get denied. So many people come to you for assistance, and because of competition, you hinder their growth because you're trying to hold something a secret. I get it if it's intellectual property. I get it if it's an idea that you have for something that doesn't exist. But if it's something that's in a pool and people are just pulling things out of the pool and they're just having a hard time understanding it or lining it up or putting the piece together, and you shun them, you're creating a hindrance. Now you're creating competition. And I learned that because people will come to you for stuff and you'll deny them. And now in their mind, I got to be better than that person because that person didn't help me. And it's years and years and years of this person just competing with you, and you have no idea the monster you created when you could have just answered a simple question. You could have showed this person, hey, it's not about a competition. It's about us listening, learning, applying, and teaching. So for me, when I mentor people and they ask me certain things, I tell them as I'm going through my entrepreneur journey, I don't have no secrets. I told y'all the other last pop. I seen it again this week. It costs zero to retweet. Da 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 da. My next customer could be on your timeline right now, and I seen 20,000 retweets and 30,000 retweets, and I laughed so hard because I'm reminded of when I did that and got zero. There's no animosity. There's no hatred. I have to do a better design. I have to do a better poem. I have to release a better pod or whatever the case is. It's not a competition. It's not a competition. We have to start teaching people the that competitive nature that you have within yourself. You have to apply it to you. That's just like I said at the beginning of my pod, like when I very first started, how I read relationship books, not for the other person. I read that for me. Everything it tells me to apply to a partner, I apply to myself first. Because at the end of the day, I want to love me so much that it doesn't matter. I want to be so competitive with myself that I can keep elevating to the next level. The next person doesn't bother me what they're doing. I said before, I come from nothing. I don't have a jealous bone in my body. I know that sounds weird. I know some people would challenge that, but for me, I don't have all of my friends, all of my associates, I want them to win. What they win or lose does not affect me, but I do want them to win. I don't wish hate, harm on nobody. I want everyone to win. Period. Because it's not a competition, and I understand that. I learned a long time ago that I am my biggest critic. I am my biggest hater. I am a person that struggles with defeatism, if that's even a word. But that's because I was competing with everybody else, competing with the next poet. I'm trying to get on Def Poetry Jam for what? I have my own stage at home. Competing, with authors for what? I can put out my books myself. I've been in competition with publishers for years. And, hey, this is this. No response, no response, no response. For what? I can put out the book myself. Everything isn't a competition. The goal is to listen, learn, apply, and teach. That's it. Compete with yourself. That way you'll always win. Y'all have a good one.